the drug that steals your potential without you noticing. You don't notice it at first. You still laugh, you still dream, you still wake up every morning with plans and ideas swimming in your head. But something small inside you starts to fade, not all at once, not with drama or collapse. Just quietly, like a light dimming so slowly you forget what brightness looked like. It doesn't destroy you, it delays you. And that's the most dangerous part, because destruction you would notice. Delay just feels like life. This isn't about villains or victims. It's not about moral failure or weakness. It's about how a single habit, a harmless little ritual, can rewire your brain's reward system one puff at a time. How comfort becomes a cage. How peace becomes paralysis. This is the story of how weed steals potential without you ever seeing it happen. Nobody starts with addiction. They start with curiosity, relief, connection. Maybe it's a Friday night with friends. Maybe it's the weight of anxiety that finally lifts. Maybe it's just the way the world suddenly feels softer, kinder, more manageable. And your brain remembers that feeling. See, your brain runs on a prediction system. It's constantly calculating what brings reward and what brings pain. When something feels good, dopamine floods your neural pathways, creating a memory, a pattern, a pathway lit up like a highway at night. Do this thing, your brain whispers, it made you feel better. With natural rewards like food, connection, or accomplishment, this system evolved over millions of years, a perfectly balanced scale. You work, you earn dopamine, you rest, it resets, balance. But weed doesn't play by those rules. THC, the active compound in cannabis, floods your endocannabinoid system with artificial signals. It tells your brain that everything is fine, better than fine, perfect, without you having to do anything to earn it. Your brain loves shortcuts, and weed just handed it the biggest one. The first few times, it's magic. The world glows. Music sounds deeper. Food tastes richer. Your thoughts flow like poetry. But your brain is learning something dangerous. It's learning that peace doesn't come from solving problems. It comes from a lighter. And slowly, without announcement, the balance tips. Your brain stops chasing the world because the world now fits inside a joint. Months pass, maybe years. And you start to notice something strange. The high doesn't feel as high anymore. The glow fades faster. What once lifted you now just levels you. This is tolerance. Your brain's way of adapting to constant overstimulation. When dopamine keeps flooding in artificially, your brain compensates. It reduces dopamine receptors. It turns down the volume on its own reward system, trying to find equilibrium again. The problem is, now natural rewards feel muted too. That promotion at work, a beautiful sunset, a conversation with someone you love, they don't spark the way they used to. Not because they're less meaningful, but because your brain's volume knob has been turned down so low that normal life barely registers. So you smoke more, not to feel good, just to feel normal. This is where dependence takes root, quietly, comfortably, like sinking into quicksand that feels like a warm bed. Weed stops giving highs and starts preventing lows. It becomes the floor beneath you, and the idea of removing that floor feels like falling. You don't feel bad, you just stop feeling better. Biologically, your endocannabinoid system, which naturally regulates mood, memory, and motivation, has been hijacked. Your brain's own cannabis-like chemicals, anandamide and others, decrease in production. Why make your own when there's a constant external supply? But here's the trap. Your brain has learned to prefer numbness over effort, sedation over struggle, and every time you reach for relief instead of action, that pathway gets stronger. The cage isn't made of bars, it's made of comfort, and comfort is the hardest prison to escape. From the outside, you might look fine. You still go to work, you still pay bills, you maintain relationships, more or less, you function. But functioning isn't living, it's surviving in slow motion. See, addiction doesn't always look like collapse. Sometimes it looks like stagnation, like a life stuck on pause while everyone else moves forward. You stop taking risks. New opportunities feel like too much effort. That side project you were excited about collects dust. That difficult conversation never happens. That dream you had starts to feel naive. Not because you stopped caring, but because your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for ambition, planning, and self-control, has been slowly weakened by chronic THC exposure. Studies show that regular cannabis use reduces activity in this region. The part of you that says, "I can do better," gets quieter. The part that says, "This is fine," gets louder. You still live, but you stop evolving. And the most painful part, you don't even realize how small your world has become, because weed makes smallness feel like peace. Your comfort zone shrinks, your goals soften, your standards are lower, and all of it feels like wisdom, like acceptance, like finally letting go of pressure. But it's not peaceful, it's surrender. Weed doesn't erase your dreams, it just makes you okay with not chasing them. There's a strange cruelty to how time works when you're high all the time. Days feel longer, weeks blur together. You look back at a year and struggle to remember what you actually did. This isn't just perception. THC disrupts your hippocampus, the part of your brain that forms memories and sequences time. When you're stoned, moments feel stretched, but they don't solidify into lasting memories. So you experience time, but you don't accumulate it. You age, but you don't grow. This is the achievement delay machine. It tricks your brain into thinking rest is recovery, even when it's avoidable. It convinces you that being calm is the same as being fulfilled. But they're not the same. Calm is the absence of stress. Fulfillment is the presence of meaning, and meaning requires discomfort, growth, challenge, the exact things weed helps you avoid. So you wait. You tell yourself you'll start that thing tomorrow, next week, next month, when you feel ready, but the feeling of readiness never comes. Because weed has taught your brain that comfort is the goal, not progress. You think you're surviving, but you're really just waiting. Waiting for motivation that won't return while the drug is still there. Waiting for a version of yourself that can't exist under sedation. And the years pass, quietly, comfortably, emptily. The loneliest part of this kind of addiction is the isolation that doesn't look like isolation. You're still around people, you still text back, you still show up, but you're not really there. Because weed creates emotional flattening. It smooths out the peaks and valleys of human experience. Anxiety decreases, yes, but so does joy, excitement, passion. The full spectrum of being alive gets compressed into a narrow band of neutral, and in that neutrality, connection withers. You stop reaching out first. Deep conversations feel like too much energy. Vulnerability feels unsafe. So you retreat into surface-level interactions, kept comfortable by the chemical buffer between you and real feeling. This is dopamine scarcity in action. When your brain can't produce enough natural reward signals, life becomes effortful. Relationships become work. Existence becomes something to endure rather than experience. So you build a shell around yourself, not dramatic or obvious, just a quiet withdrawal, a preference for being alone with your thoughts and your supply. Safe, but silent. Protected, but empty. And here's the cruelest truth of all. The worst part isn't that weed numbs pain, it numbs the possibility. It takes the part of you that dreams, that hopes, that believes you could be more, and it whispers, "Why bother? This is enough." and you believe it. Until one day you look around and realize you've built a life that's small, safe, and completely unfulfilling, and you don't know how to want more anymore. But here's what they don't tell you about brains. They're not fixed. They're not broken forever. They're adaptive. The same neuroplasticity that lets weed rewire your reward system can rewire it back. When you stop flooding your brain with THC, something remarkable happens. Your dopamine receptors start to regenerate. Slowly, week by week, month by month. The volume knob turns back up, and suddenly, small things start to matter again. A good meal, a genuine laugh. Morning sunlight, the satisfaction of finishing something you started. Your prefrontal cortex regains its strength. The part of you that plans, that dreams, that says, "I deserve better than this," wakes up. Your motivation circuits reconnect. Not overnight, not easily, but steadily. The fog lifts. Time starts to feel real again. Memories solidify. Emotions return in full color. Your potential doesn't vanish. It just falls asleep, and you can wake it up. Recovery isn't about hating weed. It's about loving yourself more than numbness. It's about choosing discomfort over decay. It's about remembering that you were built for more than sedation. The first days are hard. Your brain will scream for the shortcut. Anxiety might spike. Sleep might fracture. Boredom might feel unbearable. But that's not withdrawal, that's awakening. That's your brain realizing it has to learn how to feel again, how to find joy in effort, how to sit with discomfort without needing an escape hatch. And every day you choose that discomfort, you get stronger. The pathways of resilience light up. The neural highways of avoidance fade. You don't need to hate weed. You just need to love yourself more than the numbness. One day, your mind will thank you for missing the high. The drug doesn't steal your life in one dramatic moment. It doesn't burn it down or tear it apart. It just convinces you to waste it quietly, comfortably, one peaceful day at a time. Until you look back and realize you traded years of potential for the illusion of peace. But here's the truth. They don't put on warning labels. You were meant to chase meaning, not sedation. You were built for struggle and growth and the messy, beautiful work of becoming who you could be. Your potential is still there, waiting, quiet, but not gone. Start small, one day without it, then another, until the fog clears and you remember what it feels like to want something more than comfort. Until your dreams get loud again. Until you wake up